Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming for our third talk in this project, Connect with Southeast Asia, quote, gender issue and cloud residency in the cloud. This is our third talk. We have already been through two talks in the past weeks and 2 days ago. Since our topic this time is focusing on gender and sexual and connecting the networking in Southeast Asia region and also Taiwan. And today I'm really glad that I can invite two of my friends and independent artists in Taiwan and Philippines to join the talk. The topic today is the studies and the practice of feminism. So allowed me to introduce two speakers today for a bit. The first one, I'm going to invite Eisa JOCSON from Philippines, who is the independent artist, and she currently lives and works in Manila. She is also a contemporary choreographer and a dancer from the Philippines, originally trained as a visual artist with a background in ballet. And then the second one, I'm going to invite Pin-Wen, Pin-Wen. Pin-Wen, she says who is often mistaken for a man because of her name. And she described herself as independent art, dance, and then question mark. Single woman who is 38, vegetarian, and scoliosexual. So at first, I will let them to introduce, also they will introduce themselves a little bit more and share their experiences, their research, of course, their practice and works. And then after that, the second part, we will do the open discussion. I'm going to come up with some questions and maybe the situation in Taiwan and sharing some situation about the feminism works and practice in Philippines. And then the last part, I will open the I will do the Q&A session open to the audience. If you have any questions, you can leave the questions in the chat box or raise the hand at that moment. Okay, so let's maybe start from Eisa.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Eisa JOCSON. I'm a Filipino artist based in Manila and currently stuck in Manila. I mean, now I was able to escape Manila and go to the north by the beach. That's why I have this collar. I'm shifting careers from artist to surfer. Let me start my clock so I don't go over time. So I'm interested in movement and mobility, both in the micro and macro sense. Micro in terms of gestures, habits, and movement languages of the body. Macro in terms of social mobility, migration, especially situated in the Filipino body, the Filipino service body. So movement from point A to point B, let's say geographical movement in the context of the Filipino body. So if you want to know more about on the chat, that's my WordPress. So I guess I would start from how I got into my practice. So I do have movement background in ballet when I was 7 years old until high school. And then I focused more in the visual arts during high school. But then in college, I wanted to move again somehow. And my aunt, who was then doing the first pole dancing classes in Manila, invited me to attend, to basically take classes. So I was surrounded with quite empowered women, like women 30 and above, like quite established women. I was the youngest in the class, actually. And this started to open up my perspective with my body practice. So I got really interested with how pole dancing was radically shifting socioeconomic function. of pole dancing, basically. So, of course, pole dancing came from the red light district and has been appropriated within the dance fitness studio. Back then, when I started pole dancing, that was in 2008, it was the beginning of pole dancing in the Philippines. It was basically the first class that was taught. So there was a lot of stigma and judgment associated with it. And we had to do like promotional performances to say that, you know, pole dancing is actually could be for fitness. While now, after several years, I don't know, 10, 15 years, it has already been widely accepted, sanitized, and in a way accepted. Yeah, widely accepted. But when I was doing it, it was like even my family, my close friends had a lot of things to say about what I was doing. And yeah, so I was in the mix of this transition. And I think that was an important moment for me. So the first work that came out of this is called Stainless Borders, Deconstructing Architectures of Control, and basically pushes the appropriation of pole dancing into public space. So you have the red light district, which was a private space, and then the what do you call it, the dance fitness studio, which is a semi-private space, and then you have the urban landscape as a public space. So in terms of socioeconomic function, before I forget, in the red light district, it's the woman getting paid to perform pole dancing to a predominantly male audience, while in the dance fitness studios, it's a woman paying to learn and perform to a predominantly female community of pole dancers. So I was quite fascinated with this socioeconomic shift, because it's basically the same pole dancing vocabulary, same skimpy outfits and high heels, but yeah, the economic and let's say the social transitioning from, let's say, pole dancers in the red light districts were actually teaching in the dance fitness studios, and students were actually performing in some events that are situated in pole dance clubs. So there's this fluidity in terms of these two, what do you call this, social spaces. So this was quite fascinating. And of course, all the politics inside of it, body politics, social, and what the community was quite, yeah, encouraging and inspiring. So the first work is called, as I said earlier, Stainless Borders, Deconstructing Architectures of Control. It's basically guerrilla street pole dancing combined with graffiti tagging on the urban landscape. So you have in the urban landscape poles, basically poles that are disciplinary in a sense that it controls the movement of people. So it might be stoplight or what do you call this, road signs. Also flagpoles. I mean, these are disciplinary tools to identify your nationality, for example. So I'm just going to share this work. Yeah, so with this work, it pushes the gendered, the female gendered body in public space. So it challenges visibility as well as movement, because normally you don't move vertically. You don't, these let's say disciplinary poles are meant to what do you call this, manipulate or control movement horizontally and sometimes conceptually, if it was a flagpole, for example. This is a Flemish flagpole. This was in 2010 in a city called Sint-Niklaas, and the what do you call this? event or the art, what do you call it? I don't even remember. It's called Coupe de Ville. So basically to occupy the village. And this is an extreme way of occupying space, vertical space. And on top of that, a feminine gendered performance of being in public space. Of course, graffiti tagging, you don't normally see it on top of poles. And of course, the graffiti culture is mainly, I mean, of course, there's women, but it's mainly, the majority of it is actually male. So this is also writing with the body in a feminine language, which is located in the red light district and now is being publicly performed. So that was the first work that came out of my pole dance, what do you call this? Immersion. I mean, I was basically doing pole dancing for, I don't know, 2010 onwards until 2008 until 2012, something like this. I was a teacher at some point. I was even the associate director of Pole Academy Philippines. So I was really involved. I was deep into the pole dance community. So the next work that was that came out of this is called Death of the Pole Dancer. I'm just gonna play it. And it actually uses mundane rituals within the dance fitness studio as the main act. So wiping the pole, constructing the pole and making sure that it's straight and that it wouldn't fall on your students, and making sure that the pole is strong, and it progresses and develops into testing initially the strength of the body, the strength of the pole, and then it goes into testing out the strength of the body against the pole. So it's a series of testing out strengths of materiality, whether it be the steel materiality or the body as a material form. At some point, it's challenging gravity because it's the flesh hanging down the pole. So this work interrogates perception. What exactly are you looking at? Is it the pole dance? So from 2010 to 2012, I was doing work around the theme of pole dancing. And at a certain point, I feel like the work that I was trying to unpack was packing me in. I was being categorized as a pole dancing artist, and that's the scope of my ability. And this is something that I always go, I don't believe in being boxed in. And I think during my development years, I was always told what I can be and what I cannot be. Even as an artist, I was even told that, you should marry a rich person so you can practice your art in front of other people, like male friends who are artists. And, they weren't the same, that advice was not pertinent to them, was only pertinent to the female students. So what happened is I wanted to challenge this categorization and challenge my feminine gendered upbringing within a middle class Filipino family. So, my body is educated in ballet and pole dancing, like extremely feminine physical vocabularies. So I wanted to really somehow challenge my physicality. So that's why Macho Dancer came about. So with ballet and pole dancing, I was working with the illusion of grace, light, weightlessness, length. And with macho dancing, it was basically the opposite. It was the illusion of volume, mass, tonicity, weight, groundedness, like really a relationship to the floor. And what I discovered through the process of a year of research and training to become a macho dancer, because the proposition is for a female, for a woman to dance a macho dance, and complicate the idea of desirability and social mobility by performing a masculine vocabulary that is situated in a red light district. So the process of learning macho dancing was to become aware actually of all the habits and patterns that your body has been accumulating throughout the years. And for example, I became quite aware that I didn't have balance, because from pole dancing, your stance is more like a tripod. Your weight is always in relation to the pole. So imagine that you're pulling your weight back or you're pushing it again. So the pole becomes your floor. And so that was a very important revelation for me, that I actually didn't have, I couldn't dance for a long period, like sustaining dance without falling. So I had to learn balance within the macho stance. So there's many nuances and structures of the body that I had to unlearn and relearn. So this spectrum of pole dancing and ballet to the spectrum of the macho really opened up my perspective in terms of physicality. And yeah, so this was, I mean, I could really go into the details of this, but we don't have the time. So the next work, so Macho Dancer was in 2013. The next work was in 2015 called Host. So I normally take a year of research and process and training, because it's a lot about embodiment. So I need to learn the physical vocabulary, and from there I could sense a different perspective or state, a mind state or cultural state. It depends on what I'm actually learning. So let me just put on hold while I. So host zooms in on the Japayuki body. Japayuki are Filipino entertainers working in Japan as hostesses. So there's female and male hostess. And I was interested in the Japayuki body as a site for trans-cultural hybridity between the Philippines and Japan. This body being the bridge between these two countries, and somehow negotiating and performing cultural ideals of femininity in Japan while being still Filipino. So host is a kind of embodies a spectrum of feminine service entertainment industry. So from Nihon and Shinbuyo, which is located in Japan, the sex bomb dancing, which is what you actually see now. So I trained with the sex bomb dancers as well, and into the new kind of ideals of femininity, which is dominated by the K-pop industry. So, I mean, it's all feminine vocabulary, but like the temperature and the subtlety are so different and reflects the cultural context in which it is conditioned and created and made manifest. So with pole dancing and macho dancing, these were still located in the Philippine context. And with host, I guess this was a transcultural body politics, and yeah, I actually had more difficulty with learning Nihon and Shinbuyo. And this was important for me as an entry point into Japanese culture, because I mean, I'm not from there, so I wanted to gain some understanding, but through the body. And in a way, the form, the physicality is so contrasting. You know, the Filipino body is so dynamic, it's so outward, it performs like loudly, while the Japanese dance is subtle, discreet, sensitive. You know, it uses such a small space. Basically, they dance on a tatami, but the narratives that they're performing are actually very expansive. So, yeah, I had more difficulty learning Nihon Buyo than macho dancing. Somehow, macho dancing was it was difficult in terms of the structure, but you get a sense of, I mean, you know the culture. I mean, it's the same culture. Okay. The last one that I'm going to share is called Princess. Yeah. So Princess is a part of a Happy Land trilogy. It's the first part of Happy Land trilogy, which is about Filipino labor, performance of happiness, and production of fantasy within the Disneyland, like the happiness industry, which is Disneyland. And
pickaxe and stockings too. Oh. What is your name? Snow White.
So the premise is that two Filipino performers hijack Snow White, you know, program Snow White's mobility and speech into their own body. So you have, in a way, a performance of three impossibilities. The first is that there's two Snow Whites. Normally, this is not allowable within the Disney park. There could only be one Snow White because it would destroy the illusion for children. And then the second is that it's two Filipinos performing Snow White. So in that sense, you know, Filipinos are not white at all. And in the entertainment industry, these characters are performed by Caucasian women. They have to look like Snow White. this is another teaser. And then the third impossibility is that one of the performers is male. So it's female and male. Yeah, and the interesting thing about Princess, by the end of our creation process, we were basically, our vocabulary was all domestic because Snow White was basically doing domestic labor all throughout the film. She was cleaning the Queen's palace in the beginning, and then cleaning and feeding and sending off the dwarves to work. So, in a way, the Filipino body plus the Snow White mobility and vocality really impressed upon a current social reality of the overseas Filipino domestic workers, which they're all over the world. They basically take care of a lot of people in the world. So this was highlighted in a sense, really going into the global labor industry, how Filipino bodies are conditioned and exported to actually cater to this global market. So it's a complex layering of conditions, social, historical, economic, current politics that leads into this exportation of Filipino labor. So I think I went over time, so that's it.
Thank you, Eisa. Because I think the audiences from Taiwan probably know Eisa has already come to Taiwan 3 years in a row in Taipei Art Festival. I personally have seen Macho Dance, Princess, and I'm really lucky because I saw a lot of pieces in Manila, which haven't really happened in Taipei. But it's kind of the first time that Eisa give us the whole process and her experiences from the start, how she focusing on her work and practice, also related, not just only the feminism, probably also extended to the globalization, the capitalism, and something else, any other things. And next one, I'm going to introduce Pin-Wen, Su Pin-Wen. Yeah, Pin-Wen, she started to work with Thinkers Studio 3 years ago. I think, because of the Girls' Notes, the in Taipei Fringe, is the first time she do the presentation, the performances in Thinkers Theater, our space. And then after that, we have more chance to talk about the feminism happens in Taiwan, Taipei, and doing different kind of workshop and we have a lot of talks talking about these ideas, how to keep going with no matter her platform or the practice. So I would like to invite Pin-Wen to share her own experiences.
Hello everyone, this is Pin-Wen from Taiwan. It was very lovely to hear about Eisa's work, because I know Eisa as a feminism artist back to 2018. It's also the first year I started my individual feminism work. And we actually got a dance review together in the same article. You were in Taipei Art Festival and I was in Taipei Fringe Festival. So it's very honored to able to having you here to sharing so many rich works for us. Yeah, so I'm also very glad to join Connect with the Sea as a facilitator, also an independent artist to discover about gender issues through online. And I'm going to first pin my PowerPoint, so give me a moment. Okay, as Ika just mentioned, we are third time collaboration together with the Thinker Studio since 2019. And in 2018, I was in Fringe Festival, and it's always having so many great helps and opportunity with you. Thanks very much Today, I would like to talk about my art career concern as a female that affect a lot to me, and also the reason why or how I became an independent artist. Also, I will share 2 videos of my work. The first video is a film work, which invited to Unfolding Futures Body Motion Film Festival by curator JOCSON last year. When Taiwan faced our first filter lockdown, it was April. And after a year, now we are at home. So let's watch again. Okay, so it's first time I try to the nudity material for my practice and immediately understand I'm not allowed to do that on social media. And this issue bring me back to theater live art. YouTube removed this film in this January. In the same time, also deleted my account. This is behind the scenes, how I start. Live performance is not for everyone. I'm belonging experimental physical theater. And during this pandemic, by pushing to internet, I need to concern my media very well, very carefully. And 4 years ago, I began my independent art career when I presented my first individual solo girls' notes in Taipei French Festival and in Thinkers Theater. And that was how Eisa and I know each other. Before, I was majored in philosophy in university and choreography for my master's degree. After school, most of people consider I'm a dancer. I personally disagree. And I will sharing the second video. It's 3-minute trailer, which is made by Choreographer from Camping Eisa in 2019 to have a briefly look about Girls' Notes, the first piece of Pin-Wen's Feminism 3 years project. The book on my head for 45 minutes during whole performance is History of Beauty. The reason why I decided to focus on feminism and gender was related with my personal need. That is a question really bothered me a lot. Where is feminism works in Taiwan? And where is Taiwanese feminism artist? I'm wondering what if someone who likes me, who is a radical feminist, and where will they go to see their arts? I felt myself the only one feminist at the moment. Other people maybe not ready yet, or for some reason, they can't say they are feminist. And I had an interview with the young artists yesterday. Most of them cannot say they are feminist or who they are. Anyway, to make my art more and more clear with my political standard, it's so important to bring me to my audience and always keep them around me to develop a community. There are 3 words I use to identify my art: feminism, gender, and nudity. People can easily to recognize the part of nudity because they see the performance by their eyes. We can change costumes to telling different messages or present ourselves in so many different ways nowadays. But the thing is more about, can we really see the movements and the body language under outfit, which is actually not so easy to change the pattern because it grew up with our culture, our background, and also my family. I would say outfit is a cover and people can perform it pretty well in their gender role, which is following social concept. And we practiced for many years already. But without all these outfits, what is the last as a human being? I took nudity as my art form and media to bring out my question of being a woman. On the other hand, I also looking back of feminism movement in Taiwan, and there are so many issues still there. We're kind of still dealing with it. I guess it's not so easy to discuss all these issues from beginning since it's already living with us. For me, I might try to ask the same question, but in different way to restart a new conversation. And I see nudity might be the key to open something I don't know yet. And this is the book of girls' notes. I have in 3 different books, and I use this one for the 2nd year. From 2018 to 2020, I got Pin-Wen's Feminism 3-year project. In English, the title is Girls' Note, Girls' Notes 2, Girls' Notes 3, but in Mandarin, it's 少女须知,少女须知中,少女须知后, and 中, which means now. Ho is more close to post. And this is from Girls' Notes 3, 少女须知后. I made this piece from last year, 2020. So it was not so easy since COVID-19 is fucked around. And I realized in the end, I go back to the kitchen. I spending more and more time at home and also with my kitchen. At the moment, it reminded me about the female situation nowadays. I'm not only talking about Taiwan or Taipei, including the cities not in Taipei. Actually, so many female, they are still working in the kitchen. So therefore, I make a piece and it's based on the kitchen space. And this piece is only one work without any music. I was exploring about the sign of gender, and I'm wondering feminism can not only bring us to exploring about the movements, including the sound, including identity, and so many things. And this is from last year. And it's 2019, Girls Knows 2. The work is about how can we really make only yes means yes, the suggestion after #MeToo movements. As an Asian female, I think we are rarely to say no. And what if we don't know how to say no? How can we say yes? And also I'm wondering physical connection, the moment about no and yes is kind of floating and in between. So this is the only one piece I made, physical contact with my audience to exploring how can we find out the yes or no moment without any language. And it's the piece from the second video, but the photography is from last year in Taipei by Zhou Ziye, the title on the right side in English. So after 2 years, I got an invitation to present Girls Notes again, but this time in a public space. So it was very, very intense, not only because it's outdoor public space, but also because it's huge audience. They were there, almost 1,000. And also very intense because the performance is actually in the early morning at 4 o'clock before sunrise. I just don't know why people, they will like to stay so late to having a cup of coffee with me. So it was a great experience and it was very challenging, also very fun, and also opened a new page for me to have a new imagination for the nudity art in Taiwan in the future. Okay, beside my lovers and close friends, I don't have any memories of nudity from my education in art school. But still, so many performers, they already done nudity on stage. They told me the director will mention that in this piece, having some parts will need you to prepare being naked. And when the section comes, they tell you it's the day. Would you like to try? And then you get naked. Almost everyone tell me the same story, including nude model for painting studio. So from here, I asked myself why we consider nudity an important art form, and we can do that without research, without study, without practice. I'm doubting. I think it's too patriarchy to asking someone to get ready by yourself. If I say nudity is the key to open a new space for me to discovering gender issue, then as an artist, my responsibility is processing a practice which is more than take the clothes off. So after premiere of Girls Notes, I speak to Eisa and share my idea of feminism workshop only for female. We cooperation first salon in 2019, and there was 5 topics all surround with the sex and gender. We start from feminism porn and discover touch sensation, sharing our sex toys and experience, discuss orgasm, and with a tabless tea time. In the same year, by working with the National Theatre, I first experiment nudity workshop with the people, and later with the performers in Replay C-Lab, which is invited by curator River Lin. The second year of Salon with the Thinker Studio from last December, I proposed nudity practice workshop for everyone. It was very beautiful people being there for themselves. Everyone has their own motivation and intention. Some of them are not from Taipei, they are from other cities. They are not a rehearsal of future performance, just practice and gain experience. It's getting more and more close to my imagination of feminism art community. In Girls' Notes, I officially introduced the concept of practice into my career. I used to warn myself, take feminist options, be real, living with the society. After a 3-year project of Pin-Wen's Feminism, for this year, I put writing back to my practice in a more formal way. I finished a thesis about Girls' Notes, and title is The Post-Feminism Practice of Taiwanese Artist Su Pin-Wen, Girls' Notes 2018. It should publish on May, but postponed to future because of COVID-19. Many things go online, including my community. Now, I also lead a reading group online, and last few weeks, we read for audience before bed. I keep people and invite them to practice together, not only physical exercise, but also in spiritual way. If you feel alone tonight, come to us in the midnight, like a story from 1001 Nights. It only takes 20 minutes and you will have a sweet dream after read. So back to beginning, I mentioned that we'd like to talk about my art career concern as a female. I'd like to make my art more than performance, but in movement level. I'm sharing my knowledge, including academics and artistic practice. Living in Taiwan, a free country, I'm able to practice nudity legally. It won't happen in China, or most of the Asian countries are not open for nudity yet. I wish feminism art were becoming the 5th wave of feminism movement in Taiwan and take actions for that. That is my imagination of live art. I'm working on it. Okay, thank you for your listening.
Okay, thank you, Pin-Wen. Yeah, and when Pin-Wen mentioned about last year in October when she did a Girls' Note the edition in the Nude Blanche. Now I wasn't there, but I stopped by the venue. I remember it was a stadium, right, in front of the stadium. And it was still early, like about 11 p.m. or 11:30, but there are still people waiting for this show, waiting until 4 a.m. I couldn't stay that long. So, but the next day when I woke up, I saw my Facebook or a lot of people sharing about the experiences and how they feel about it, and makes a lot of people feel really touched. Okay, so before we do the QA session open for all of the participants, I have a question for Eisa and Pin-Wen.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, I know through your experiences, both of you, you also mentioned about why at first, in what kind of a situation, or why you started focusing on feminism, this kind of issue in your work. But in this period of time, from beginning until now, do you found or notice any change, or anything has been changed in your city or your country in feminism, this issue? Oh, and meanwhile, if the audiences, you have any questions, you can leave your questions in the chat box, or you can raise your hand like this function, and I will cue you later, okay? Yeah, the reason I ask this is because Pin-Wen has to do a lot of things related with the publics, especially, general publics and the social media. She put her practice also in those in the social medias, like her nipple project, right? Free nipple project.
Yes.
And she kind of fighting in this whole policy in the social media for a bit. And I'm not sure about Eisa, and in these couple of years, have you noticed anything being changed?
Definitely, feminism is in the Philippines is dynamic. I mean, it's definitely evolving, developing, changing, and responding, and manifesting in relation to the conditions. I think especially now that we have this macho, misogynist government, feminist groups are definitely more active or more present, because the necessity of feminist voices is important to counter the narratives that are strongly separating or like dividing the nation or the country.
How about you, Pin-Wen? Yeah.
The same question, right?
Or we can follow Daniel Cox's question, in the chat box. Let me repeat again. I think his one is more simpler. Mine is too complicated, too big, I think. Yeah, the question of him is, he'd like to propose a simple question to follow mine. Is a feminism a useful appellation for you as an artist? Does it open more possibility for you intellectually, or does it feel reductive, limiting?
I guess feminism in itself is defined differently and has evolved in different periods of, I guess I don't subscribe to a specific, description of feminism, because as I said earlier, it's evolving, it's changing, it's dynamic. It responds to individual context differently. So Western feminism would be quite different from an intersectional, let's say, Southeast Asian feminism, which social mobility, for example, in my work is extremely tied together with, let's say, equality. Like when you say like gender equality would be tied to social, political equality as well, and there's a deep fragmentation and exploitation that is not, you cannot just scratch the surface. So there's it's a deep deep work that needs to be done. For example, I'm becoming more and more present to the culture of migration that we have in our country, like narratives, cultural landscapes and conditioning that dictate our aspiration and desire ways of being and living. And this for me is like, synonymous to feminism. So yeah, I would have a broader, more nuance, maybe to the Filipino situation of what feminism would mean or would, So I don't find it limiting, but I do find that it could be limiting if certain definitions of feminism are imposed on my practice or my work, because it definitely doesn't fit any mold, and it actually spills out and shatters, and it doesn't want to be categorized or be, it's part of my belief system and practice that it's constantly, it's in a way monstrous in the sense that you cannot box it or understand it, because dynamic because it's always shifting.
Okay, how about Pin-Wen?
So for me to see, to know where is limited is very, very important, actually very helpful from feminism study. Because once if I know where is limited, then all I need to focus is to how to break it and in which way. So feminism for me have this function, and also I think as a feminist, it's also very, very important. I'm able to see other people's situation by reading. Because feminism having so many different types. And for example, I'm not a mom, I'm single. But when feminism talking about being a mom, then I can able to understand others people's situation, feeling, and their struggle. So for me, feminism is very important. I do that not only for myself and also for people. Yeah. And also back to Ikai's first question about MIC after a few years, the situation in Taiwan is changing. I think it's very interesting because people, they come to me. And most of them, they are genderqueer feminists. And most of them, they are lesbian. And in Taiwan society, from my personal experience, I'm very, very rarely to see lesbian dancer. Of course, they are still there, but I just cannot recognize them. They look like me. I mean, you can't just tell their gender or their identity by how they look. So now more and more lesbian feminists come to me, and that is a huge difference. And also I need to mention that because since 2 years ago, I think it's 2 years ago, when Taiwan legalized same-sex marriage, we are kind of moving to the direction which is more concerned about queer community. And sometimes feminism and queer not totally perfectly connect with each other. I would say it's from my observe. I wouldn't say that's totally separate, but I didn't see they have the well connection. So for me, to being a feminism artist, I can also see I should make the bridge between feminism and queer people. And also in Taiwan, we still believe that feminists, they are female. When you say feminism, people consider you are talking about female, but actually we are talking about gender issue. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, but I think it's probably we'll all agree kind of we are not only doing the service of feminism, it's all connected with different kind of no matter the issue or the different kind of the situation or different kind of topics. And in this kind of situation, I think there's another audience also came up with another questions. I think it's kind of connected. He or she, sorry. The question is how do how to project the vocabulary of feminism in underdeveloped community? But my personally is also thinking about what is underdeveloped community. Yeah.
Or underdeveloped community. Yeah, what is development and I also have a lot to say, or at least I don't subscribe to the Western definition of development. I think that it's actually quite violent how Western development, the term development, in what way or in what how is the current situation underdeveloped? And of course, there's a particular model of development, what it needs to be developed. You know, have a certain GDP, a certain like relation. It's a model that is actually being installed everywhere, which doesn't take into consideration the local context and its conditions, culture, habits, religion. It's quite violent. Development is actually quite violent. And so I would say feminism, to a certain extent, reading about it, intellectualizing, I mean, naming it, kind of helps to archive and to know about it. But knowing about it is different from acting on it and doing on it, doing something about it. And I feel like the feminist movements here in the Philippines are actively doing or in the, practicing feminism in the grassroots, and not needing to put it down in words, because the need to act is more important or necessary than to define what is happening. So yeah, there's a lot of feminist practice in social activism, in book publishing. Like, for example, Gantala Press is a Filipino feminist publisher. And then there's groups in different communities. I don't remember on the top of my head at the moment. For example, Heresy is an all-female ensemble of sound artists. There's Girl Gang is a band that is. I mean, there's so much feminism actually, because the culture of machismo is quite strong. But I would say, like, the Philippine culture, I mean, from my point of view, is matriarchal, but concealed by patriarchy. Somehow there's strong women, strong matriarchy, but the performance of patriarchy has to be acknowledged, you know. So there's a filter of patriarchy, but everything else is like the decisions in the family is really done by. I grew up with a strong female presence in the family. For example, my aunt, who invited me to do pole dancing. Also, I was kind of her tail. So wherever she is, I'm there. So she was also the one who, what do you call this? Introduced me to macho dancing in the macho club. And her work is in the visual merchandising. So she owns a company. So that's probably why I'm a visual artist now, because I'm in her, what do you call this? Workstation most of the time. Yeah, it's complex. I could talk in detail about it. But there is that performance of machismo that is somehow given space. I mean, probably why there's macho dancing, and it's somehow accepted and kind of just there, even though it's a Catholic country. And I don't know why sex work is so strong in the Philippines, but Catholicism is equally strong. So there's a lot of contradictions between exploitative institutions and belief systems. Yeah.
Okay. So, Pin-Wen, would you like to respond it, or we can shift to the other question?
I would like to confirm about the question in Mandarin, because it means 在未发展的国家中，女性主义可以如何实践吗？
Yeah, or 未发展的一个社群，或是还没有 发展完全的一个社群。But I'm still also concerned about the underdeveloped community. Yeah, because that's the definition. Probably we need to define it or something. The different situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would just give a short.
Yeah, and or sorry, the quick note. If the audience, if you have any question, if you want, you can turn on your microphone and having a conversation with us is all fine. Yeah, you can just raise up your hand in the reaction function.
So I would like to sharing how I think in Mandarin. 我觉得在未发展的国家这件事情里面，常常在讲的是经济程度上。所以在这个前提之下，它会有一个相对的比较值。我觉得如果硬要这样子说，那台湾能不能相对别人也是未发展国家？可是我在想，如果在这样的情境下，其实是很需要我们回过头来理解我们自己的处境是什么，以及我们也要知道，这个其实女性主义的研究跟运动已经超过40年了吧，所以我们也正在成长之中。我们应该要不是只是依照过往的经验或是其他国家的经验去处理我们自己的命题。
Okay, hold on, because we still have other international participants. So let me have a quick briefing. Yeah, what Pin-Wen mentioned about the developed community is that we also need to define it. What is the developed community? Is that a comparison situation or something? If we want to compare, you want to compare Taiwan with the other country, maybe Taiwan is also kind of in the situation of a developed community or country. But what she mentioned about what we need to focus on is the present situation in our own country or communities. In hers, if we're talking about the feminism research or movement has in the past 40 years, different stage has a different kind of topic and situation we need to face on. So focusing on the present situation more probably is the priority that we need to do at first, right? Okay.
Thank you, Kai.
You're giving me too much information. Okay, and we do have another question from Tu. And by the way, we still have only 10 minutes to go. This one is a little bit tough, I think, but I think it's also interesting. And Tu, if there's anything you want to add on or want to speak more, it's welcome for you to turn on the microphone, okay? For the question is, to both speakers, how do you navigate feminist theory while foregrounding your inherited or ancestral knowledges? Could you give us an example as an instance in your practice or your work?
Can I say something before the speakers answer?
Yes, please.
I think this question could be related to the previous one, because we're talking about the previous one. We're talking about how to project feminist knowledge or vocabulary in underdeveloped communities. And while underdeveloped could be a problematic word, but I think this could be an interesting foundation to think about my question in terms of, like ancestral knowledge or your inherited knowledge that sometimes can be easily erased or deemed underdeveloped in the modern concept of modernity or what counts as knowledge or so on. So yeah, I think this could be a quite interesting reflection to the previous questions, perhaps. Thank you.
我觉得我周遭的朋友真的是在考验我，每次都在拷问我为什么不回去那个考律师。
Hi, 文浩 you have to mute
因为
yourself.
昨天也是
Sorry.
Surprise.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I don't see a certain what do you call this contradiction between feminism and ancestral knowledge, for example. It depends on, I mean, some let's say, for example, the culture of migration. I mean, part of this culture of migration is the eradication of ancestral knowledge or ways of being that are connected to the land. So, for example, I strongly subscribe to ecofeminism, which is a movement that sees a connection between the exploitation and degradation of nature and the subordination and oppression of women. And I think this is very strong. I strongly resonate with this in reference to the Philippines, because, you know, a lot of the, Philippines is so rich with natural resources, but it's because of the exploitation and land grabbing, like the political struggle for land rights by indigenous and the agricultural sector is the main reason for, let's say, underdevelopment and the reason why people choose to leave because of that exploitation and violence of systems and institutions that are put in place by the elite to keep power. And the result is this mass migration out of the Philippines, but it's connected to the land. It's connected to, like, once you push people away from their ancestral land, ancestral knowledge also disappears or is eradicated. So, yeah, I guess the current ecofeminist description that I subscribe to or believe in at the moment, it could of course change, and I guess depending on the work, other definitions are more strongly resonates with the work. So there's no one definition of feminism. I think it depends on context and how you use it. Of course, I mean, it's there to be expanded on. It's there to be nuanced on. So, you know, it's a guiding a guiding store of knowledge that you can use and mold differently according to one's necessity. You know, it doesn't have to be a limitation. It could be an entry point and a jump off point.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. There's still 5 minutes left because I really want to put everything really on time because, you know, online presentation or talk sometimes can be even more exhausted. and I have the lecture question is for Pin-Wen, since Eisa has already responded the question. The Pin-Wen's one is more like for her own experiences, like could you share a bit of the audience response or your self-reflection on your nudity practice workshop?
All right, the audience response.
Mm-hmm. Or your self-reflection.
I will be on stage and look at my audience during performance, because Girls Knows from 2018, this piece is already traveled to Europe once. So also in Camping Asia, I'm able to reach different audience from different nationality. And I find in Taiwan, if my audience, they are my people, I mean, looks like they are Asian, Chinese. Sometimes they are afraid to look at me, or sometimes they fall asleep because I'm not sexy enough, or sometimes they are totally being with me, smiling to me, and sometimes they tears. So it's a very specific keywords, but actually I feel myself, including my audience, we are still need to express more by the language. Sometimes the audience came and hug me after the performance, and they just tell me they don't know why, but they feel very attacked or very touching. So I guess the work physically really bring so many feelings, but we are still learning to how to using language to express our response. Yeah. And from last year, the second year of Salon, we had a nudity workshop in Thinkers Theater. And this time we invite, we host so many people. There are different gender, different background, different ages. I don't know, to see more than 10 people totally naked in front of you, in front of each other, was very 惊人.
Surprising, right?
Not surprising, another word.
Or
I couldn't find a word. I mean, maybe surprising, but with a little shocked. Because I feel, don't know why, by the guiding, not the leading, by guiding themselves to slowly by slowly to open their sensation, especially touch sensation, to feeling the skin and feeling whole body by touching sensation, then becoming nudity. It's very powerful, not only as an outsider to watching their body, including themselves at the moment. So I felt totally exhausted after the workshop, because it's too, they gave you, the people, they gave me too much energy, and that was really amazing.
okay, thank you. I'm really appreciate about to Pin-Wen and Eisa, especially Eisa, you're on vacation and still, giving the talk to us here. But I'm really glad that we have the chance to put you two together. That is one of the things I really want to do in these 2 years. Okay, so the last part I also would like to know to share the information. Tomorrow we still have this project's presentation. Will start from 1:30, and if you want to know more information, please check the chat box. Our staff will put information on it. And tomorrow we still have another talk and 3 presentations in the whole afternoon. And the last part is if you want to know more information and more like the artist journal for the whole artists and facilitators, you can also check our website for this project. So we will put the link on in the chat box.